Okay, I think I got it set up.
Okay.
Do you want to set all this stuff up for us?
Oh my God, I wouldn't know the first thing to do.
Okay. All right.
All of those moving parts are frightening to me.
Moving parts.
They hurt my brain.
Hurt my brain.
All those little icons.
All those little icons do the same.
Are you
done? Yes.
writing a song? These could be song lyrics.
It's the Jack
and Kathy
Show.
Shit Show.
And there we go.
Yeah, how was
Okay,
that? Did you like
I
that
think
one?
yeah.
Okay.
That was an utter waste of time, and I apologize for destroying 50 seconds of your life.
It's all right, babe.
Given all the other minutes of your life
I
I've
was
destroyed.
going to say we'll just put that on the pile.
I think we're better friends when the podcast is rolling, because if people would hear us pre-podcast and all this shit that gets under our skin, we just want to beat the shit out of it.
The podcast saved our relationship.
Once we hit record, we're good. But prior to
what?
it,
Isn't it true that once the camera's rolling, you feel like someone else is in the room and you go into your best behavior?
totally.
Yeah.
Like if the camera were to stop right now and the recording stop, yeah, I'd be like,
we'd be like punching it out. We'd be duking it out.
I do love
We'd
you.
be in
I
a
really
fist
do.
fight.
I have to admit, I love you so much. You are, honest to God, the best. Even when we piss each other off, I can't imagine a better life. Can you not put that on there for the moment, though? No, because I don't want it to touch anything accidentally, and next thing you know, the recording stops. Don't you double sigh Zerbert me. You're such... I can't defend it. Fine, go ahead. And then when it freezes and something happens and you go, I'm so sorry.
You don't hyperventilate and fall over for the number of times you exhale deeply in frustration of me.
478, 478, 478,
Yes.
478. I do love you, and I've said it
I
17
love you
times.
too.
You're way behind. Go.
I love you. I love you. I love
Oh,
you.
whatever.
I love you.
Begrudgingly.
Did I catch up?
So listen, last week we had a podcast about financial planning, and we talked briefly about a couple we met online. So after the election,
Haley and Justin
from Price of Avocado Toast, their podcast. And I think that's the same social media handle they have, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right.
And anyway, they had commented on social media, I believe it was Threads, that because they took a stand on the political stuff that took place, they were not fans of the election. And they took, I think that was the case. Shit, I could be way wrong. What if I'm fucking wrong on that? They took it, right? They took a stand publicly about politics last week. And in doing so, had clients say, we're not going to be a part of you anymore because of the stance that they took. I wrote to them saying, not sure where you landed, but you've got a follower in me, because they lost followers and they lost clients. And I said, stand your truth, live your truth. You got a follower in me. And if you want to be on our podcast, which only has 6 listeners, I think 8 now, come join us. So I didn't think anything of it, right?
Yeah.
I went, this isn't going to happen. How many times have I said that to somebody?
Yeah.
And nothing comes of it, right?
Right.
Next thing you know, within almost a nanosecond, I get a thanks much and we'd love to be on your show. And then moreover, there were like maybe 1,000 likes to my post, and our followers and subscriptions went up in both in all of our social media, Instagram, what else? YouTube, etc. All those things suddenly lifted. Okay. And I went, Jesus Christ, I was just trying to be nice. And apparently that's a good thing nowadays.
Sometimes that works.
Yeah.
Not hate and vilifying other people.
Right. Even though if you had listened to Kathy and I prepping for the podcast, there was a lot of hate and vilification.
I love you.
So love you. So anyway, we're going to have, so we asked them to be on our podcast. Today is Tuesday the 19th. We are recording as of this date. We'll probably have it out tomorrow, if not tonight. But we asked them to be on the podcast. Now, Price of Avocado Toast is about financial planning for millennials. They are millennials, a young family, young couple with young kids. They got themselves out of some financial trouble, decided to write their own personal ship, and in doing so, started talking about it. They gained a big enough following in talking about it. You know their story, right? Mm-hmm. They gained a big enough following in talking about it. I think 26,000 subscribers to their Instagram post alone, that they actually said, holy shit, we might be able to turn this into a business. And so they did. You and I still haven't cracked the code, because why the fuck would someone listen to people in their near 60s talk about marriage when we can't even get along pre-podcast?
Fair.
We don't have
Totally fair.
advice, we don't have skill sets, but we are damn good to look at.
Where that's even sketch someday. Some days.
Not you.
No, let's
you.
okay. Let's
Not
go
you.
back in the archives and find out all the times Kathy showered can be put in one hand.
So here's the
One
deal.
hand.
They're going to come on the show. We're going to take a quick pause for a commercial break we have, and then we'll be back with Justin and
Haley.
from Price of Avocado Toast. We're going to talk about money.
Awesome.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hi, it's Kathy. Let's talk about Jack's butt. His colon specifically, that underappreciated, overworked part of his anatomy that has one job and occasionally needs a little help from modern medicine to stay in line. So in honor of Jack's colon and all the other unsung colons out there, we're fundraising for No Shave November. It's a charity raising money for men's cancer awareness, specifically colorectal cancer. Jack's face is on a mission to save lives. So here's the deal. Donate to our No Shave November fundraiser. Help us hit $1,000 by the end of the month and watch Jack's face turn into Sasquatch. Go to the link in our Instagram bio at Jack and Kathy Shit Show. Do it for Jack's colon. Do it for science. Jack, does your butt have anything to say? Oh, jeez. I think that's colon speak for thank you. You guys, I literally just sit down. I don't know what all these buttons are. I don't.
I'm the exact
I was
same.
just in
I
front of
just
you.
told Haley the other day, like, yo, I want to control the podcast now because you need to take some stuff off your plate. And I would truly just kind of like show up and smile and like do the show.
So you're the tech person behind all this then?
She does everything. I truly just
Yeah. This was my
now
idea.
she has to train me.
I am you, Justin. Totally. If Jack said, hey, could you take this stuff over? I'd be like,
I used to be in
you wouldn't want that anyway.
No,
you would,
so
you would,
bad.
you
You'd be
would
so
sleep at night.
You'd be so
You'd be
bad
like-
at it. I used to be in a band for years, so I had all this equipment. And Kathy 3 years ago said, we should do a podcast about us because we're talking about finding love second time around. And I said, sure. And next day I had it all set up, and she goes, what is this? I went, well, you said you want a podcast. But I've been doing recording stuff. How did you get so experienced with the recording stuff?
I think just over time, like you went through the little like mini podcast course, and then you kind of just
good.
ran with it.
Yeah, but like
Nice, Haley.
we still record on GarageBand.
Yeah, we're very
like we have been doing our
Okay.
podcast for almost 4.5 years, and we haven't changed anything recording wise
Yeah.
because that's how we learned, and I don't why fix it. It's not broken.
Yeah.
We're just gonna leave it. But
Exactly.
it's funny. We'll go on interviews and they're like on Riverside, and it's so crisp
And they've got
awesome.
like the teleprompter up
And then,
here, or like their camera's here, but then like they look at us up here, and we're like, we're just on a laptop, like chatting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we
That's
keep it
right.
down and dirty the same way. The only difference is I definitely use a recording studio platform.
Mhm.
So that's when I said, hold on a second, because I switched over to that to make sure all the levels were set. But that's just my background. I've used, what you said, GarageBand you used?
That's
Yeah.
what we're on. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used that before too. That's fine. It works. You don't need to be superstars with this stuff unless you're going to start recording different ways, but that's awesome.
I think we
Yeah.
need GarageBand because Jack tells me I inhaled too deeply And too loudly
So sometimes
into the mic.
Kathy will, and then she reads the next line and it's from the head to the side.
Yeah.
Do you hear that too when you're doing post stuff?
Yeah, that was how
Yeah, I
we
don't
figured
breathe.
out that Haley was pregnant.
That's
Like that's our
my-
telltale sign of like Haley's pregnant is like
I can't breathe.
when we hear a podcast and we're like, there's a lot of like breaths. Yeah.
Thank God Kathy's not. That's all
Oh
I'm
my
gonna say.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we
Not
appreciate,
possible.
we so appreciate meeting with you guys.
Yeah.
And as we said a little bit earlier to start this podcast, we met you online. And one of the things that fascinated me the most, because I did dive into some of your posts and other things you've written, and one of them was how, if you don't mind telling your story, not like how you were raised and what your family was like and how you met and all those other lovely things, but rather the financial story here, because we're about relationships, right? And when I read that, you guys came into some money and then found a way to spend it real quickly, and then found yourself in an uh-oh moment. And that led to where you are today, I'm guessing, right? This whole genesis. So give us a background on that if you don't mind.
That's basically the gist of it. Justin received $600,000 from a wrongful death lawsuit payout after his grandma died of mesothelioma. And we just met. We were madly in love. And 3.5 years later, the money was gone. And we were in over $220,000 of debt. And our story is kind of wild because it went like really fast between receiving the money and then spending it and getting into a lot of debt. And that kind of led us to feeling like, well, something has to change because this clearly isn't working. We're really good at spending money. Now we need to fix the hole that we're in.
Yeah. And that led to changing your relationship with money, right? That's what I think is so, Jack mentioned we have this relationship podcast, but one of the relationships we talk about is our relationship with money, right? And then for us being later in life and meeting later in life, having that conversation with each other about money is so vital. And I know you guys talk about that with your clients and the people on your podcast too. So, what
You can go to that one. Yeah, I like that question.
okay,
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
We got a series
one
of questions here.
One of the things that popped into my head early listening to you guys, because, Jack and I are 58. So we've got decades on you guys. And we kind of look at you like, we've got 5 children between us, all between like 23 and 28, 29 now, right? So maybe a couple years behind you guys, I'm guessing, because you have 2 little kids, right? So just doing that loose math. And I really had a thought, like, I want to ask your advice. So if you were going to give us advice as parents of adult children, can you give us some insight how you would suggest we talk to our adult children about money? Because I feel like they turn a deaf ear. Like I could tell them, oh, you should paint that wall blue. And it's like, blue, really?
Or for example, we were,
Blue.
right. We were in Arizona.
That's dumb.
We were in Arizona recently, and one of our 5 children was trying to rent a car and didn't have a credit card. And we both looked at each other and went, we've told you to get a credit card, just to have it as credit, right? And so to Kathy's point, deaf ears all the way around, how would you suggest old fogies like us talk to people like you?
That's a great question.
If we were your parents, what advice would you give?
My initial thought goes to this idea that, our demographic or our generation, kind of the millennials and lower, were told a lot of things by the folks older than us that we're struggling to see come true. Whether that was like go to college and get a good job or kind of like pursue the classic American dream. And so I think we tend to kind of like push up against that or like battle against that because we're struggling to see some of the fruit of that labor. So if it were me thinking about like, how would I want those conversations to go? I think of what Haley and I kind of specialize in is this idea of like value-based spending and budgeting, which is really like build things into your life that you absolutely love and that you can enjoy while also tackling your financial goals, whether that's paying off debt, saving for, the next phase of life, whatever it might be. And so I would probably lean into that idea more so of like, hey, you actually can have all of these things that you would really love. It just takes a few wise choices here and there, and you're going to be okay. Rather than thinking, at least for us, I think, again, when we were younger, we really got raised in this like idea of hustle and like keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, push, 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 push. And we're seeing that right now it's not quite the correlation that we thought. And so I would lean into this idea of, hey, if you're doing the right things, you can have it all. And that includes the things that you love. But that's a hard balance. It's a really hard balance because you also do want to, teach and preach those like wise financial decisions of like, hey, it sucks, but like to have credit and like build credit, you got to already have credit that's building credit. And so it's this like really vicious cycle that's really hard to teach for people.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I think my response initially was way sideways from what Justin would probably
Lay it on us, Haley.
By the way, this is you two on the podcast. Like the time you had one of the most recent ones where you had keep or throw away. What was it? I dropped.
Yay or nay.
Yay or nay.
Yay or nay. Yeah.
Man, I wanted to be at home after that one, but go ahead.
Okay, immediately. I don't know like super details on like how long you've been together, whose kids are what age, if you've talked to your kids about money in your previous marriages or anything like that. But my initial thought was let the kids fumble and figure it out. But lead them to the water. You can't force them to drink the water, but you can say like, hey, here's what you probably should do, and then leave it. Here's what you probably should do, and then leave it. And then maybe after like the 7th time, because I've heard from like marketing experts, you have to hear things 7 times before you're like, oh, wait, maybe I should pay attention to that. Maybe it'll resonate, but you can't force them to. And even if you're watching like a car crash about to happen, you're like, don't do that. The reality is they may not learn if they don't do it. And that's the hardest thing I can imagine watching happen with like children, grown adult children too. We don't want them to be suffering financially, but some of our biggest financial mess ups, I actually wouldn't take it back because the learning experience was foundational for who we are today. And I don't think I could have gotten that education or experience or perspective on life and money and all of that without messing up. So it had someone even when he got his $600,000, if someone was like, go have this perfect plan and be good to go and you guys will retire with $10 million, I still don't know if I would have managed my money, if I would have learned how to manage my money.
Isn't
so it's a kind of a hard, I know you probably were not expecting that.
No, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
Oh, go me. That was my initial thought.
And I can relate to it because I think,
me.
that's parenting advice, right? You talk about with your kids. It's like for your kids, how old are your kids now?
We have a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Okay, well, there you go. So they fall down, they get things wrong, they don't, they're not doing a lot right? And to swoop in and fix everything for them, they don't learn, is your point, no matter what it is, whether it's picking a Cheerio out of the bowl and getting it to your mouth because you're, 1-year-old, or it's maybe going, hopefully not too painfully in debt with huge repercussions, but just enough pain where you learn, right?
Yeah.
And so that I like that. I like both the advice. Like I can take both of your advice and marry it together, a little bit of both. That makes sense to me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, totally love it.
So, you guys talked on a couple of different podcasts. You mentioned how your relationship with money is very much tied to maybe your relationship with yourself and your feelings of self-worth and your feelings of whether or not you deserve to have these good things or deserve to have money. Can you talk a little bit more about what those experiences have been like in talking to clients and how you might advise them in that way?
That's a great question.
That's
a really good question. I think, at least for myself, I carry a lot of shame and guilt at times around money. And I kind of tend to hold myself back from success in some areas because I'm such a safe person. I really like to play things safe and I don't take a ton of risks.
Yeah.
And money sometimes bleeds into that as well. And so
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of folks, we tend to, like you'd said, identify our value to the world with the value that's in our bank account, or we tie our worth to
Mm-hmm.
our net worth, right? And say,
Yeah.
well, if I don't have money, I'm, less than, or I'm stupid, or I'm dumb, or the classic phrase of I'm bad with money. And
Mm-hmm.
bad is such an interesting term because money's neutral. Like, unless you're,
Yeah.
putting money into something that's like a bad behavior, right? That's unkind or, criminal. Like
Yes.
bad with money is not really a thing. It's all neutral. And so we have to kind of reshape our lens around that. But you're right. So much of it is tied into our personality and
Mm-hmm.
how we manage things. So at least for me, some of the ways that I kind of approach that or um honor that maybe might be a good term as well is like I'll just straight up name it. We like to use
Mm-hmm.
the phrase name it to tame it. Like when we're going through something
Oh,
or feeling
I
something
like that.
around money or like our lives or whatever, we'll just call it out as best
Yeah.
possible. And so that
Yeah.
might look like us being like, this is really expensive, or like, I'm really worried about this part of the business, or I don't know what this is going to look like. But
Mm-hmm.
we try and preach that to our clients as well. Like, hey, when
Yeah.
you're feeling difficult things like, oh shit, the budget is, oh my God, wait, I'm imagining you guys curse on your show.
Oh my God,
Fuck,
dude.
fuck yeah.
Okay. I was
Way
like,
too
wait a minute.
much.
It's called the shit show, right? Okay. So,
There you go.
Exactly.
yeah.
Sit in
So,
that as long as you want
Go
to.
for it.
perfect.
Drop
So,
some
like,
F-bombs if you need to.
I love it. That's great. When, like when somebody's having a shitty month with their budget and things are going wrong and they're getting hit with everything, it's the water heater just blew. And my boss told me we're not getting the quarterly bonus because of, politics or infrastructure or whatever. And my kid's been a nightmare at childcare. So I've had to pick them up early several days. Like, we like name that. Name
Yeah.
that like your month has fucking sucked.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
if we don't say that, then we kind of just live in this like really naive space of like, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And at some
Yeah.
point, as you both know, it boils over. And
It
it's whether
does.
or not it
Right.
boils over with our partner, whether or not it
Yeah.
boils over at work, with our kids, it boils over at some point. And so
Mm-hmm.
we really like to use that phrase, name it to tame it. Name those feelings, name the stress, name the situation, good or bad. And it's going to start kind of that healing process of not tying
Mm-hmm.
your worth to your
Mm-hmm.
circumstances.
Do you find in your practice of guiding people through financial success, right? Whatever you want to label that, that you find yourself being therapist sometimes too, because some of this
Oh,
stuff starts to
yes.
uncover? Do you have any stories on that end too? I mean, you don't have to name names, but what experiences do you have with some of that?
Oh, I mean, we've
I mean, I could
so
just,
many, right?
Yeah.
The good and the bad, right? The
yeah.
great things of we're pregnant and we are so glad because we're able to plan our family because of the financial help you guys have given us. Or, hey, I'm actually going to be leaving my partner and I
Mm-hmm.
need to plan how we're going to make this work. Or,
Right.
hey, the kids are going through this and we need to start redirecting some of our money towards some counseling sessions for them,
Mm-hmm.
actual marriage and family counseling. Like it's, oh, I mean, there's more stories than we could ever share.
Yeah.
It's a blessing to be able to do this and to be there for people. But
Mhm.
it also it goes to show you like how much money's tied into everything.
Your money is tied into every area of your life. And when we
Mhm.
can have that view with our financial coaching, it really helps the holistic standpoint of you are not your money. Your worth is not the debt that you have. And also the journey that you're on for the finances
Yeah.
goes so
Yeah.
much further than just numbers. It's not just about the numbers. You are not a
Mhm.
number. And when we
Mhm.
can look at that, you can plan to do whatever you want with your money.
Mhm.
Whether that is, like Justin said, I helped a client leave a toxic relationship and move across the country. Like that's
Mm.
Wow.
life-changing
Wow.
stuff, to leave an abusive relationship and then go start a new career, finish school on the other side of the nation. And
Mhm.
yes, it had to do with money, but it also had to do with this person's confidence to make that choice. And a lot of
Yeah.
our sessions were very therapy based. Now, we are not financial therapists. There are specific financial therapists that work
Really?
deeply, deeply in this work that is more like very therapy based. What we do is coaching people with their money and with their mindset to help them make the right financial decision for them, whatever that might be. But with the therapy thing, I do feel like marriage counselor frequently because
sometimes
it
it
does
probably
impact.
gets into some murkier waters sometimes, and you have to go, okay, I'm out of my zone, officially
Totally.
out of my zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense to me. That's really really insightful and fascinating to me, because I do find that honestly, most of us really associate our self-worth with how much money we have or how successful we are around money, right? And if I can add from our perspective, I don't know how many times, if it's mostly millennials that you talk to, I think it's interesting to have older couple like us who has to have conversations about retirement, how much debt we have, right? And what kind of assets we're bringing into the marriage, because hopefully, Lord willing, we have something we're bringing to the table at 58 years old, right? But what other conversations do you, if you're talking to people that are about to embark on a committed long-term relationship, do you guys have an outline of, say, hey, these are the things that you guys need to talk about? You need to get these things on the table. It's not just, oh, I owe X thousands of
Car
dollars on
payment
my
or
credit card.
something.
Are you like suggesting people? Well, tell me, are they laying out
Yeah, talk
everything on
about
the
couple
table?
stuff, because we were really curious to see if you have people who walk in and all of a sudden the two of you go, "Oh shit, they're so far apart."
Yeah.
Yes. The answer is
In a
yes.
word, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. To answer the question with like, yes, there are so many different things we need to have people talk through. Are you going to combine your bank accounts? Are you going to keep them separate fully and just pay bills? Is one of you going to pay the other person rent because you're moving into that person's house? Do you have child support? Do you have spousal support? Those are big things. Are you getting a prenup? That's a big
Yeah.
deal. Did your ex-spouse die and leave life insurance for your kids? How are you going to pay for your kids in college? Are you going to give your kids money when they call you and they're 25 and they're like, "Hey, my tire blew. Can you help me?" Like that, there's so much to it. And are you planning to have children if you're younger? When do you want to do that? Are you on the same page with that? How did you grow up? Like the stuff that we do is so interesting because I wish sometimes I could elevator pitch it better, but I can't because it's hard to sum up in
Well,
a
you
very
speak from the heart. You're not a textbook, right?
Give us your
Yeah.
elevator pitch.
Oh,
We're going up
man.
3 floors, not just one. 10 floors.
I have a podcast and I'm a financial coach. I help people get out of debt. That's about as far as I can get in an elevator pitch because otherwise I'm like, wait, but stay in the elevator. I have more to tell you.
Push every button.
What are some, all right, yay or nay with the two of you guys, joint checking accounts?
Yay.
I
Well,
would
it
say
depends.
yay as well. Like that's how we've done it from the jump.
But it depends.
Yeah, but it
I have
definitely
seen
depends.
in a situation where you guys are coming from two different lives at your age, not to call you old, but you have
You
life
can.
experience and grown adult children, I can see either way.
Yeah.
Yay
Either.
or nay, joint credit cards.
Oh, that's a good one. So, yeah, that's a really good one.
I mean, most credit cards are not joint. You're just like an authorized user on it. So like,
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one because Haley has dealt with more single clients who have had financial infidelity than I have.
yeah.
I have not had any clients personally that were single women that dealt with financial infidelity. Haley has had several.
Financial infidelity. Dive into that for just a second if it's not too much trouble.
Yeah.
Financial infidelity is when you are doing anything shady with your money that you would not openly tell your partner. Like, and it can range from ordering things on Amazon and then lying about it to opening up credit cards in your partner's name. Like, that is extreme. Or racking up a bunch of debt and not telling your partner.
Taking out a HELOC.
Hmm.
Oh,
Buying a
gosh.
car without telling them and surprising them, refinancing the house without telling them, not paying the
Ooh, what's that?
mortgage.
You live that.
I lived that personally.
Yeah, when your
Oh yeah.
ex-wife
My
bought you a car
ex-wife
and you're like,
bought
how
a
much
car, and I
did you
thought
pay
we had
for
the
it?
money, and it was a lease, and it was way
Ugh.
overpriced. And I almost lost my shit because I was tied to it. True story. It was a super cool sports car, and she had managed the money. I thought she had a
Mm.
good handle on. I don't want to be disparaging too far, but I
Yeah.
let the car sit in the garage. I drove it once a week to keep things moving for 2 years so that I could break even on it and then sell it by myself. Because
Mm.
Wow.
it was just, I had to wait until, because otherwise I was way underwater. And so by keeping the miles low, I had to literally let it sit there and keep the miles low so that I could sell it for a profit later so I could break even. I had to do that kind of
Wow.
math. I had one friend, you're going to laugh at this story. He rather than putting his home taxes, real estate taxes into escrow, which some people do, right? Which isn't a bad thing. You apply it to your mortgage. He instead wanted to take that out and put it into a check or, excuse me, an account that gained interest that he could move. So his wife went to the bank and saw that there was $35,000 sitting in an account.
That she didn't
She
know about
thought
it.
that he was hiding money. And so he comes home and there's brand new furniture in the house. And she says, hiding money from me. And he's like, those are for the taxes.
Oh no.
Swear to
Oh
God.
no.
Oh no.
There's
Oh, brutal.
communication issues there.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's brutal.
Well, that's why,
Yes, doctor, you are
right.
correct.
That's why yeah. I think you're seeing a lot of our questions are about I mean, our podcast is really talking about how we've navigated a whole bunch of different challenges going through a second marriage, meeting ex-spouses, all those kinds of dynamics. And so, questions that Kathy in particular had generated here was just all the challenging stuff you guys may face. It's one thing for do yay and nay. I love that episode, by the way. It's one thing to talk about how to use your credit cards for different benefits. And I think I sent you a shit ton of responses on that stuff. I'm so sorry. If you want to talk offline, we can. But um,
Did you flood them?
I sort of did. I'm in the banking business, so I do this for a living. So I kind of know a lot about credit cards, unfortunately. But we're really fascinated with what work you do for young people. And,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
you know this already. A big reason that divorces happen, whether it's first, second, or so on, is money.
Yeah.
And we've had a really open dialogue. I mean, the first time we met, it was probably within weeks. It was this is how much money I have. Kat said, I've got a condo that I rent out. Like we laid it all on the table.
Mm.
Um, it was actually cathartic. I don't know if you get that experience from your clients or
Yeah.
you have any stories along those lines where you can see when it works.
Yeah, oh, totally. And I actually really love working with clients who are in the stage of like being engaged and
Mm-hmm.
taking that next step to get married. And they
Mm-hmm.
hire me to help them with their money. But the first step is like, hey, let's get our friend has this term financially naked. Ed
Mm,
Combs, he's a financial therapist. And that's literally like what you have to do. How
Yes.
much money do you have in the bank, in retirement, in assets, in debt? What do you owe
Mm-hmm.
to other people? When are
Yeah.
those things going to expire? How long are you going to be working for? Are you
Yes.
tied to something that you can't get out of, like tax wise? Any whatever that is, the good, the bad, the ugly. But once it's out, it's like, oh, this is so free. And
Yeah, I imagine.
one of my favorite stories is working with a client, like a long-term client who was with
Mm-hmm.
me solo, and then they got engaged and brought their partner on board. And the partner was a super closed off person that didn't want to share anything, very
Private.
guarded. Yes. And the other one was like wide open book. And so it took us like a year to chip the other person down
wow.
slowly to get comfortable to really be financially naked and open. And I'm happy to report they've combined their finances, they've gotten married, they've done it all so beautifully, and they have really great communication with their money now. But it was like a 2 year process getting them there. It was very
Yay.
hard and clunky because one person might be super comfortable with it, and the other person's like, whoa, this is really weird. This is super uncomfortable. And you
Mm-hmm.
expect me to
Yeah.
tell you all the good, the bad, and the ugly with my money? No.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, but what a necessary step for to try to ensure a solid foundation to a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, getting back to Jack and I and our relationship. So we met on a dating app when we were both living in Chicago. He's from Chicago. I moved him up to Milwaukee now, which is where I'm from. Poor guy. He's in Packer country.
I'm sorry about this past weekend. I mean, that's
Oh,
just
dude, you have no idea.
just
And
heartbreak. I mean,
her Kathy's son sent me the worst text, and he's just an ass load. And
Honey, look at it.
and she looks at it as bonding.
Bid for connection for my son
Well, he could go bid with someone else's connection.
as he rubs in that Bears lost.
their
Go
teams
ahead.
played each other this past weekend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
You can, when we get off the air, you can show her the last few seconds with the
Yeah.
Do we really have to do this?
show it to her. Show it to her. Show it to
They
her.
lost in just devastating fashion.
Yes, exactly. But I was just going to like brief you that we've only been together 3.5 years. Like we had our first date. We talked for 6.5 hours on our first date, and we've been together ever since. And definitely what I was going to point out is at this age, we are truly sniffing out your financial stability. I ain't no spring chicken. I know what shit I got to work on and what should I bring to the table, what assets, what debt or whatever. I'm sniffing that part out too. Like you might be really, really funny and fun to hang out with, and you love music like I do, and you remodel homes and your kids seem really cool and all those check the boxes, right? But I truly am. I'm not necessarily looking for someone to take care of me, because I've always worked. So I definitely like to earn my own money. That's an empowering thing as a woman to do that. But I'm definitely sniffing that out. So I can appreciate how what you described as being such an important foundation to a relationship is being, how did you put it? Financially naked. Or wait. Naked.
Naked.
Yeah, financially naked. I like these turn of phrases that you have. They're perfect. They sum it up really well.
They're so important though. Like you said, Jack, like it's cathartic. It really is. Like kind of bearing that all and just saying like, hey, this is me. And this is who I am, and this is what I have. And it doesn't change whether you're 33 or 58. Like when you can be vulnerable like that and just strip that down and be like, check it out. Like, love me or not, I don't have the time to play games. I don't have the time to hide this shit. Like, I am who I am.
Yeah.
Like, there's a very liberating feeling, and just being like, I can wish you well, and we can go our own ways, but like, this is who I am. And it's really empowering to get to that spot.
It is. It's a relief too, to say this is who I present, and don't choose me. That's your call, but I'm going to be who I am. So anyway, I know you had one more. We want to talk about, this is an important question.
So, I mean, you two are both savvy with this stuff and your financial advice. Do you guys still have challenges as a couple that you are still meeting, coming to crossroads that you're like, honey, we're not on the same page with this here as we're about to embark on this next financial decision as a family? Like, are you guys still finding yourself in those, and what do those look like, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, we're self-employed for a business that I started, and we're both former elementary school teachers, and teaching is safe. Yeah. Very safe. You get a pension. We live in California. The pay is not terrible. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not terrible. Yeah. And you have benefits and all that security. And we left
summers off.
Yeah, summers off.
Yeah. To be self-employed and have roller coasters and fun stuff with our money. And I think I'm a dreamer. I'm like, oh, let's do this. And Justin is like a realist. And he's this safe, secure person. And I'm like, we can do this. So I think one of the biggest things that we are still working through, and I think this is also like our personalities, but like being self-employed and taking these risks and doing this, like we took a bet on ourselves and we're doing really great. But then sometimes he has to bring me back down to earth with like the reality check in a kind, loving way. But like, hey, and it goes so much further than just like money. Like, what is the best next move for us? Is it that he goes back to teaching, or that we step on the gas and do something different? And I don't always like the response that he gives me, because I want to be the dreamer and go do this. And he's like, wait, but like, seriously, let's really think about this. And
he's
I think it's
such a wet blanket.
It's checks and balances. I'm over here like,
no doubt.
do this,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to have that discourse and the conversation, the communication that we have with
Mhm.
what's going well, what's not going well, and how can we fix it? Because that's
Mhm.
what it always comes back to. We
Mhm.
can usually be on the same page to find some sort of solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you thinking
Yeah.
of that?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh,
I think you've nailed it. Totally. Yeah. Way to
Mhm.
go.
Mhm. So one last question, unless you have some more, Jack.
No, you're
but
good.
do you guys go to coffee shops and spend money on lattes?
we go to the drive-through.
We do the drive through, yeah. We're too lazy to go inside and
I
lug the kids around.
I think that is the largest waste of money. And I'm not saying we don't do it, but I go get that yummy matcha with oat milk latte, and the bill is $6
Worse than
Yeah.
that. It's
for,
8.
or yeah. And I'm just like, what are we doing? This is like an occasion like that. And then also talking about like my kids. Like sometimes I talk to my daughter and she's at a coffee shop again. I'm like, oh gosh, I bet she spent like, you know,
Well,
$6 or $8 about 5 times this week. If she added that all up, that she could put that in a IRA. And I'm thinking these things, right?
Yeah.
to that end, it's really interesting if you get a chance to listen to our last podcast, because I had to cycle and find yours about a budget. The one podcast you had about a budget, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 ago, or maybe recent. I
Mm.
can't remember. You even posted something recently about it.
Maybe
Today,
the
maybe,
coffee
right?
budget. Maybe yesterday. Yeah. I posted about our
Yeah.
like a coffee budget line item.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My issue is
There
I
you
would go
go.
out to dinner every fucking night, no doubt about it. Every night. In
Yeah.
fact, tonight I got home from work and said we still have a gift coupon to this restaurant in the city. And I said to Kath, once I literally went, I've got to get myself organized here, because I look at my credit card bills with meals. And again, we're older, we do well, but it's one of those, holy shit, $1,500 in food this month. What are we doing?
Okay. Okay, real talk. We do the coffee thing, but what is so funny with what we do is we have like the inside scoop on what people are truly spending their money on. I can see like down to the T.
Everything.
And
Yeah.
I've seen there are some people that spend like $400 a month on alcohol at liquor stores. And then I've also seen some people spend $400 a month on cannabis, whatever their thing is,
Yeah.
or $400 a month at Starbucks. And every time someone else would be like, excuse me, what? But like, to each their own, whatever it wants to be. If it's dining out every night, I mean,
Yeah.
as long as it's in alignment with your goals, makes you happy,
Well,
and
there
it
you
doesn't
go.
take away
I
from the
was just
future,
going to
then
say that, and you said it. If it's in alignment with your goals, if you can afford to spend that 400 here or there, and it's not keeping you
It's keeping me.
from whatever those goals are, and yes, I completely agree. And you need a little of that.
So here's
right?
what you're
You
not
don't wanna
getting.
Live this completely
Hold on a second.
restricted
Here's what you're
life.
not getting. Here's a real story. See, when I say I'm going to put a limiter, right? See if you guys deal with this. When I say I really got to cut back, what she hears is I'm going to make sure she cuts back too. Get it? That's really what's going on here. So when she goes, just spend it, it's okay. She's concerned about
Stuff like that.
she does. You guys have been great. So here's the deal. We are forming a partnership. So we're going to, is there anything else you want to ask or add?
oh my gosh.
Because we do have
That's
a fun,
okay.
we do have a
You're-
fun thing we'd like to do with you. If you're, unless you, there's something you want to add, and we'll give you, when this is all over, we want you guys to give a closing thing, where people can find you, all that other kind of stuff. Okay. And then
Sweet.
post this, you can shoot me emails and I'll make sure I articulate that in text. Okay.
Groovy.
Is there anything though that you want to ask of us? Share something we've missed? Yeah, go ahead.
Financially, what has been the financial argument you guys have worked through? Like the big one that keeps coming up, or like the biggest one, whether it's a total blowout argument or just like a little one. Because one time I lied to Justin about buying $300 worth of meat, and that was kind of weird, but we worked through that.
I'll tell you what, I'll answer first because I want to jump in.
Okay.
We remodel homes too. So Kathy's a real estate agent. I've been doing my own database tech work for years. But on the side, I would fix up homes. So I knew how to remodel them and sell them myself. We met and kind of bonded over that thing. When we bought this house and fixed it up, Kathy's got enormously great, wonderful ideas. I'm not winking. I'm trying to keep my eyes as tight as possible. And then I'm the one that has to build it. And so I look at it and go, I'm going to use my language. Fuck, that's going to cost me this much time and this much money to build that shit. Can we, like, for example, you know what I'm going to talk about? Our living room is beautiful. We've got these beautiful shelves, built-ins by our fireplace. Kathy wanted to have an oak panel look behind the shelves. Great. Put up a piece of oak paneling, stain it. Kathy, I can't believe I'm telling you this detail. This is clearly still in my head. Thanks, Haley. Kathy wanted it to look like
We're gonna go have a fight. once we get
herringbone.
off
She
the
wanted a
air.
herringbone look. Okay. She wanted a herringbone.
uh-huh.
So you know that's angled. That means I'm wasting wood. So take a sheet of paper and cut it in half to fit sideways. There's a shit ton of leftover material. My brain goes to that could be a $100 item. Now it's $6 to give the look. So we've fought more intensely over budget stuff for the remodel of the house. Does that make any sense?
That was pretty
Yeah.
much what I was going to say
That
too.
was it.
Because it's been an ongoing thing, and we bought the house together, doing splitsies on the house, and so it's been this ongoing thing of a lot of money going out the door, and there's a stress associated with that, right? And so, yeah, as Jack says, when I have these really, really cool design ideas, tongue in cheek. But they sometimes cost a little bit more money, right? And so that has been an issue. And he's dangerously handy, so a lot of them he has to execute. So it's been
The cool news about it though is we realized at one point that we kept we're going to sell this house and do very, very well with it for sure. And we kept upping our own ante, going, well, it's going to be worth it because it's going to look better than X, right? We got done with some things and Kathy likes to say we had to remodel every blade of grass. Okay. And so we got done with landscape in the backyard and we both went, yeah, we overspent. Right. We both had that moment of we overspent. And ever since that discussion, everything we look at is, do we need to spend that? Do we need to spend that? Do we need to, and we still have one more bathroom to remodel.
Wow.
But those are the fights we had. Those are the drag outs. Are you shitting me moments? Yeah. Never anything, and really not anything else. We travel well. We're very good with all the points programs we have. You know, because I'm in the credit card business, we know how to take advantage of that correctly.
Yeah.
But that was it. That was it. Did that
That's
answer
not
the
that
question
bad, then.
for you?
That did, yeah. It's always hard when it's a hobby, though, too, right? Like, I mean, obviously, it's a business practice for you guys, but like with the podcast, sometimes this is our hobby and something fun, and every now and then you're like, God damn it, why'd you do that? Or like, why are we doing that? Like, what the hell's going on? So it happens.
It does. So we are forming a partnership with something called the Skin Deep. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No.
You can find them on YouTube. They just have people. If it's really cool, if you get a chance to go to YouTube and look up the Skin Deep, it's a relationship podcast, and they have people sit across from one another and ask sometimes really challenging, introspective questions of each other. Right? They've had people on there where they'll say things like, "So will you ever get over my having an affair?" And then the Skin Deep just records this interaction. So anyway, we reached out to them and they said, let's try to do something. So we're working on a partnership with them because we own, you could probably see this here. They have card decks like crazy. And so at the end of every one of our podcasts, we used these when we first met to try to get to know one another. And so now at the end of every podcast, we ask each other a question from the deck.
That's
and
awesome.
the decks have different themes. So you can have like a healing edition. We've got like long-term relationship edition, short-term edition, and we have the one that Jack is pulling from is more humorous. It's meant to be
Sometimes
fun.
it's supposed to be,
and,
but it's not often. So Justin, this question, are you okay to answer these questions?
Yeah,
And
this
Maybe
is
it
so cool.
really
This is
depends on
like,
what the question
well,
is.
I love this.
It's about your relationship with Haley. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So here's the question for you. You want to read it for him?
All right.
Imagine you're asking this of
So
Haley.
Justin is asking this of Haley. Do you think I believe in the supernatural? What about me informs your answer? So Haley would answer that about Justin.
Do you think Justin believes in the
supernatural.
supernatural? And what about that informs your, what about him informs that answer?
Oh man, the supernatural. immediately I'm thinking of Twilight, and then I'm thinking of angels of dead people. So this could go a few different
Or
ways.
ghosts.
Right. I think Justin is hesitant to the supernatural. But I also, what makes me think that is I had a psychic reading and he was like all on board with that. So like maybe he's open to the supernatural, but I don't know if he's like, yes, supernatural is a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Did I hit it?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I am open to that idea, and I think any of my hesitations would be actually like my fears of like confronting what that might look like. Like,
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that would be my hesitation, not of like well, I don't believe in that for any type of reason, but I used to be a sixth grade social studies teacher. And in California, that is ancient civilizations. And so studying a lot of the ancient civilizations and some of their ideologies and their practices really opened my eyes to some things and thinking, well, what if, or just questioning a little bit more and thinking, in deeper ways. And so I think a lot of my worry with confronting it would be just like my own fears of having to confront things that maybe I'm not super ready to confront, to be honest.
Wow.
That's a really cool
Very
question.
Very cool. Very,
Yeah.
very
Very
cool.
cool.
I like it.
All right, Haley. Justin, this is for you. Based upon how Haley acts, explain who you think she idolizes.
Better not be Dave Ramsey.
No, not at all. Not at all. Based on how Haley acts, I'm trying to think because I have a very clear vision in my brain and I have to think of who that might be. And I'm going to say a person who I've seen Haley kind of talk about, and in my limited knowledge of this woman, it would be spot on. That person is Jenna Kutcher. She is a podcast host and a like kick-ass mom entrepreneur. And I don't mean to denigrate anybody by saying this, but it's not like the mom entrepreneur that is trying to make it in like Arbonne or something like that, or like one of those kind of network marketing things. Like she's actually built like close to an empire now with what she's doing. And I think Haley really idolizes somebody that is able to juggle being a mom and being an entrepreneur in that way. So I would say that would be my answer.
I don't know that I would have like initially thought of Jenna Kutcher. I don't know who I would have initially thought of, but like, damn, that's really good.
Yeah, heck
Good job. I was watching her reels earlier today, and I was like, oh, she's so inspiring.
Yeah, there you go.
What I would also say, I think Haley also like any older woman who is like super stable and comfortable with like who they are, almost to the point of like, I do not give a fuck what somebody thinks about me. I think Haley also really idolizes that because she's gotten to a point through parenthood, through our marriage as a business owner, where she's really come into like her own strength and her own, ideas of like, this is who I am. And well, that's how y'all found us, right? Was Haley, popping off on threads, like, we're going to be who we are. And that just is it. Whereas I'm very much so like, oh, Jesus. So I would say that as well. Like, I think there's like just this persona, even more so maybe than just like one actual person.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that answer.
Great stuff.
I think that's very complimentary to you, Haley, and how he sees you too. So that's super cool. I love that.
I always say,
you get a little red there, buddy.
Yeah, well, I always say Haley's our CEO and she wears all these other hats. And I always make this stupid joke of like, wanting to go to HR and get in trouble.
Well, okay. Jenna Kutcher's husband is a stay-at-home dad.
Well, there you go.
So like she runs the show.
Yeah.
And that was, you would have gladly been a stay-at-home dad, but I was like, no, come work with me.
Sugar mama's never a bad thing.
Oh, dude, I'm with you. So there. I love it. Okay. So give us your sign off so everyone knows where to find you, et cetera, and so on. And we're going to be quiet.
We are on basically all social media platforms at Price of Avocado Toast. It's kind of a mouthful, but we keep it simple. Not really at all. Our podcast name is Price of Avocado Toast as well. And that can be found anywhere where you're listening to the show today. And that's about it. Oh, and our website is priceofavocadotoast.com. It's just Price of Avocado Toast.
I love
Right.
cross-border.
Anywhere they search, they'll find it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, for everybody, even though I announced it, you didn't hear it, but it's in our early part of this podcast. Just give everyone a quick synopsis of what you do. It's not the elevator pitch. We already went through that. But just
Yeah.
let them know what your business is all about and who you're helping.
Definitely. We help millennials learn how to budget, pay off debt, and spend in alignment with their values. So we do that through a one-to-one coaching program over the course of about 6 to 12 months, or our new group coaching program, Empowered Money Academy, where there's coursework and live calls for us to support people on their debt-free journey.
Awesome. You guys are
the
awesome.
best.
You are helping a lot of people. So well done.
Yep.
Well done.
Thank you.
you.
Oh, that makes our
Yeah,
hearts feel so
absolutely.
good. Thanks so much.
Yeah. We always sign off our podcast with peace. So if you
Peace.
want to join us, just say peace. Ready?
Peace.
Here we go.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
you guys, so much. You just listened to another episode of the Jack and Kathy Shit Show. All recording, engineering, and production provided by us. Connect with the podcast on Instagram at Jack and Kathy Shit Show for more insight into our shit show of a life. This episode is proudly brought to you by Pint Productions.
Point.